Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is this bright neon tie-dye set. So starting off with the base coat as usual. And I'm starting off by doing a white base on the nails with certain colors like neons and pastels because they are so white based. Putting them on top of a white color will actually help enhance the color. So if you're finding that your pastels or your neons are just not as bright or as vibrant or showing the true color that you want them to, put them over a white base. It'll really help. And because this is just a base layer and a lot of stuff is just gonna go on top of it, I'm not worrying myself with 2 layers. You can see there's a bit of shadowing that tends to happen with whites, and for the most part I usually do 2 layers with white, but because this is just a base coat for the neons to pop on, I'm just gonna do 1 coat for this. And here are the colors that I am using. You can see it's a bunch of bright neons from a whole bunch of different brands. Some potted, some in bottles. Just pulled out a bunch of colors that really spoke to me. And here I put them down on a palette so I can easily grab them with a brush. And I'm just going to start by placing the colors down next to each other. And I am not going to cure in between the colors because I actually want the colors to blend. I'm going to be doing stripes to kind of blend the colors together in a tie-dye pattern. So we're actually not going to cure the colors in between, we're actually just placing them down next to each other wet, which can sometimes be a little bit tricky because the colors can kind of like bleed into each other a little bit. So the most important thing is to try to work quickly, but not too quickly because you don't want to mess up, of course, but kind of just want to make sure that you are staying within the colors and not blending them too much, not mixing them together too much before we actually go in with the design. So it's kind of really basic and really simple, just kind of going around and around with all the colors. This is going to be like a round tie-dye shape. So it's really just very repetitive. There's not really much difficulty in a design like this, which is actually what makes it super fun because with tie-dye, it's almost kind of not meant to be too perfect. I mean, obviously like a perfect tie-dye when you get like a printed shirt or something looks great. But if you were ever in like summer camp, like I remember doing tie-dye t-shirts in summer camp and stuff, like it never comes out the way you expect it to. It kind of just always is a little bit of a mess. And I think that's kind of what adds to the fun of it, especially if you're doing it as a child. It just really creates something that is imperfectly perfect. And that's kind of what I was going for with this design. There are definitely ways you can do tie-dye nail art that like makes it a little bit more perfect. You can use a blooming gel and just different types of techniques. And they are techniques that I've kind of dabbled with a bit, but I kind of really liked the look of the messy, imperfect tie-dye. I think it kind of just brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. So that's kind of like the look that I was going for here. So as you can see, it's really repetitive, just kind of doing all of the colors in some sort of pattern. I just kind of kept to the same pattern, but you can definitely mix things up a bit if you were interested in something like that. What I would say with tie-dyes is just really play around with it, play around with the shapes, play around with the placement. You can see over here the first layer of pink is starting to bleed into the other colors a bit. I think I put too much there, and it's kind of starting to like slide off the nail. That's kind of like the risk that you have with putting a bunch of polish on the nail without curing in between. But again, I think it just ends up lending itself to the design and really just kind of enhancing the look of it. For me, this design was not meant to be a perfect printed tie-dye. It was meant to look like summer camp. It was meant to look like an art project, and I really loved how it ended up in the end. So after all the colors are done, I'm just going to take a clean striping brush, a nice long one, and I'm going to drag from the center outwards and kind of pulling all of the colors together and meshing them. And I'm actually leaving a decent space between all the stripes because I'm going to do the same stripes but from the opposite direction. So here we're dragging from the center, and then as soon as I'm done doing that, I'm going to just drag all the colors from the edges of the nails into the center between the lines that I already did. So this is like a really repetitive process, but it's a lot of fun, and I really love the design that comes from it. Blending all the colors together is just a really cool design. And another reason why I did the white base is because the colors kind of get dragged, and I felt that having a white base as opposed to just putting it on the clear nail would help lend itself to the design as well, and would just fill in any of the blanks if like the polishes kind of like got dragged off the nail a bit. So you can see there's a bit of white peeking through, and I think that was also a good idea to put a white base down. So here I am just refilling my pink, and because this is a really repetitive design, like I kept saying, I'm doing this nail on a diagonal. Tried to say angle and diagonal at the same time. On a diagonal, and I'm just going to be doing the same repetitive process, just placing down the colors and then doing the stripes with the clean striper brush. So I'm just going to speed through this really quickly and just let you listen to some music because there's not really much to say. And then I will be back when we move on to the next nail designs. Now that we have finished with the 3 tie-dye nails that I want to do, I am going to do a nail in fully pink, and you can see that the color is really, really bright, and the white background really just helps with that punchy pigment. Over here, same with the green, just doing one full green nail. And again, it's super bright, and that was definitely the point of this look. Very neon, very summery, very bright. So for this nail over here, I wanted to add a whole bunch of like glitter, and keeping with the tie-dye rainbow colorful scheme, I pulled out a whole bunch of colors here in neon shades. And I'm just using a brush over here with some base coat on it just so that some of the glitter sticks. And I'm just going to place down a whole bunch of glitters in kind of like a glitter colorful fade. So I started with pink at the top, throwing in some orange, and I'm going back and forth between the glittery glitters and the ones that are a little bit more matte and don't have as much of a shine. I think mixing the two really helps add dimension and a whole bunch of depth to the colors, and you can see just pulling out all of the colors that match the design, so all the bright colors here, so doing the pinks and the yellows and the greens, just what matched the tie-dye nails that we did before. Just doing a really pretty fade all the way down the nail, and somewhat of a rainbow, but not really, just kind of more like colorful than rainbow really. And just placing everything so that it's not too bulky, but that I get the coverage that I like. And adding in more glitters because I love glitter and I like when things are sparkly. And just fixing up the sides to make sure that everything is nice and even. And a bit more of the orange. I felt like it kind of got a little bit lost there. And there she is. I am going to do a thick layer of builder gel over it because it's quite rough and bumpy and very textured, so that's not the look I was going for this look. So I am putting on a thick layer of builder gel, first starting in with a thin layer and then building up a layer on top, and then it's going to get buffed and top coated so that it's nice and smooth. I've recently been loving encapsulating gels. So now I am going to put on some stickers on the tie-dye. So the center of this tie-dye here kind of came out a little bit messy, and there are definitely ways to make sure that it doesn't come out messy, but I figured throwing in some smiley flowers with the neon colors was a good bet. And then over here on this nail, doing a quick crystal placement, nothing too dramatic or extravagant, just doing a bit of corner design, and I'm using these AB crystals over here. They kind of have like a rainbow look to them, and they really reflect off of the nail when they are sitting all next to each other. So I felt like this was a good choice for crystals because they really look sparkly and rainbowy when they're sitting next to all the nails together. And just go and get on the opposite side at the tip of the nail. And this is a really simple, easy crystal placement. It's just one big one and then going smaller on either side, but I think it actually ends up just really looking really pretty. I like this placement. It's simple, but it definitely enhances the look. I'm finally going in with a top coat. I definitely think adding those flowers to the design definitely enhanced it, and it was great to cover up a few mistakes that kind of showed up there. Here encapsulating the glitter gel. So if you went to summer camp as a kid, did you do tie-dye t-shirts as well? Is this design bringing you the nostalgia that it's bringing me? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know. Share your summer camp stories. And let me know if you would do these nails the same way that I did, or if you have a different technique for tie-dyes, because I definitely love how this came out, but I know there are definitely other techniques and other products that people use. So if you've done tie-dye nails, or if you are curious in seeing tie-dyes done in a different way, let me know. I'd love to try out other stuff as well. So let me know what you'd like to see, or what you've done and how you've done your tie-dyes. And here is the final set. I hope you love it as much as I do. Let me know in the comments down below if tie-dye brings you the nostalgia it brings me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!